Hey guys, it's Mike here, and today I'm going to be talking about who the most popular member of Team Universe 7 is. However, I'm going to be also using a number of polls I have conducted over on my Twitter, which I heavily recommend checking out if you want to see updates from me, pictures, and then a wide variety of things I don't talk about on Laughingstock Media. It's at LSM Mike. So I'm going to be taking a look at all 10 members from least popular to most popular on this list according to how people voted. And again, if you want to participate in future polls, make sure to check this out at LSM Mike. So starting off from the least favorite is going to be Tien. And I'm not too surprised by this, to be honest, because Tien is really a character who has not really been given much shine in the Tournament of Power and really hasn't done that much in Dragon Ball Super thus far. So from the current perspective of Tien, I think it makes some sense for him to be all the way at the bottom. He also got perhaps the least amount of votes. So again, it makes some sense that, Tien is where he places. I mean, the guy lost to Master Roshi, and the guy stupidly eliminated himself by throwing himself off the ring, when he could have just left one of his clones in the middle of the ring, and then would have been still in the match and still been able to help his team. But whatever, I mean, I guess Tien was like, well, somebody's just gonna eliminate me soon anyway, so I might as well have a cool kind of ending. So Tien is number 10, and his name is 10, not Tien. But anyway, let's get into the next one on this list, who actually kind of tied with Tien, and that is Goku. Now, I'm sure many people are going to be finding this surprising. Overall, I mean, Goku is still more popular in a number of ways. So I feel like he's probably, putting them together, is going to have, more favorable votes edging him out than Tien. After all, he does have more votes in general. But it is very surprising, or at least very interesting, to see that Goku is pretty close to the bottom, if not already there from some people's perspectives. But, I can kind of understand this because Goku really, at the end of the day, has been the main character of the show for so long, and in Super they've really dialed it up to 11 again, to where Goku basically, he's always the forefront of pretty much everything. He even was a villain in the last arc, fighting himself basically with Goku Black and then merged Zamasu. So Dragon Ball Super has really kind of gone GT in some ways with Goku and kind of been like, Goku time, Goku time. But at least instead of GT, where it's always everything is just Goku, Super is done a little bit better. But I think some people are getting tired of all the focus just being placed on him. And, I don't think that for some episodes of him fighting Kale and Caulifla is really going to help matters that much. But moving to the next person on this list is Gohan. And again, Gohan is interesting to be down here. He's also become, I guess, a little less popular in Dragon Ball Super, and really ever since the Buu saga, because, we all know that at the end of the Cell saga, Gohan basically took over as the main character from Goku. Dragon Ball Z was really toward the height of its popularity, and a lot of Gohan fans were really disappointed and let down by what happened with him in the Buu saga, myself included, but that's a whole other can of worms I'll open one day. And basically, Gohan in Dragon Ball Super has really gone back and forth. Like, basically, the first two arcs, he was just owned by whatever villain or antagonist came along, and especially in Resurrection F, he looked weaker than ever. He wasn't even able to power up without basically passing out on his feet. And then the next arc after that, he wasn't even there. Like, nobody really bothered to do much with Gohan except for having him and Trunks hang out for, like, an episode, and then for him to find out that, oh my god, all this bad stuff's happening there and nobody even told me, which was really messed up, Toriyama. And then Toyotaro made it much worse by saying, it's basically Gohan's fault that they create another timeline and Trunks would stay in the past. So, great job, Toyotaro, there, too. But anyway, moving moving on, Gohan has become more of a badass in this arc, so I could see some of that popularity coming back a little bit, but again, he hasn't really been doing much. You know, he was able to defeat the strongest warrior of Universe 10, but that was so many episodes at this point, and, you know, those people are weak compared to people like Jiren and Goku, who is getting all of these power-ups, so I feel like maybe Gohan's been a little lost in the shuffle, but for all we know, he could have a really cool comeback, and maybe he'll get some ultimate transformation, maybe Ultimate 2 or whatever. We'll have to see. I think that would be pretty cool. Next up is Krillin, and honestly, I thought maybe Krillin was going to take this whole pull. I mean, after all, Krillin is just like the heart of the Z Fighters and of the Dragon team, you know. He is really Goku's best friend, who's been there since, I believe, the second arc of the original Dragon Ball, or the Dragon Ball manga, in which, you know, he started training with Goku on Master Roshi's island. And, you know, he's really been a lot of fun ever since then. He's been the comedic relief, as well as just a fighter who is, even though he's afraid and someone who I guess some fans might interpret as cowardly at times, he still will rush in to fight people who are so much stronger than himself. Or like in the Buu saga, for example, he'll give his life just so that his family will have a chance of escaping Majin Buu. But again, this is Dragon Ball Super now, and Krillin really didn't do much in Super so far either. I mean, he had some cool moments, mostly in the Resurrection F movie, but he had some cool moments in the Resurrection F arc, and he has had some cool moments in the Tournament of Power thus far, but he was still pretty much eliminated because he was caught off guard and hit by Frost, even though AndroidEighteen was standing right there and could have helped him, but, you know, she decided to just mock him afterward instead. But they seem to be, for all intents, a very happy couple. So it's interesting where Krillin places on this list. But again, it makes sense from a Dragon Ball Super point of view, and even as the top comment says here, most relatable character in the series, but a lot of people give him slack for being weak, useless, and cowardly. But hey, if you're not a Saiyan who can get a million colorful transformations, I guess it makes a little bit of sense that people are gonna think you're weak in this fan base. But moving on, up next is Frieza, another person who is interesting with his placement, but ultimately it makes sense that he is ranked even higher than a lot of these other staples of the franchise, and a large part of that is, of course, Frieza's amazing comeback that he's had in Dragon Ball Super, where after Resurrection F, which was kind of a letdown, I mean, I'm sure some people love that movie, but I definitely didn't, and then the arc, you know, with the horrible animation and Frieza still being basically the boring mustache-twirling villain, wasn't really that good at all. However, when Frieza came back for his one-day visit by Goku during this arc, he's been amazing since. You know, he's had some great music accompanying him, he's had some great animation, but of course, he's also really just taken over as more of like a Joker, Lex Luthor hybrid character, where he's always scheming in the background, and yet he seems like, instead of just wanting to outright kill Goku, is almost developing some sort of appreciation or respect for him, which is really interesting because these two were basically trying to kill each other not really that long ago within Dragon Ball Super. And yet now Frieza is helping Goku, and one of the biggest and most iconic villains of the entire franchise is teaming up to save his universe. Although he does have his own ulterior motives, he wants those Super Dragon Balls for a reason, to manipulate the gods, as he said, but Frieza's really just been turned up to 11 in all the right ways in this show, so it makes sense for him to be right here. And up next is Vegeta, which, you know, I guess I'm not too surprised that Vegeta is really ranked this far above of Goku or even Gohan, because, you know, Vegeta is really kind of that workhorse character of the series. You know, he doesn't really get a whole lot of major wins. You know, he's never really beaten a main villain. I mean, you can argue with Frieza that he did, but he was basically just picking up Goku's scraps at that point. So really, Vegeta, you know, earned his Super Saiyan Blue training with Whis. You know, he didn't use a ritual like Goku did. Vegeta is someone who constantly pushes himself harder and harder, not only to keep up with or to surpass Goku, but now he's really trying to surpass everyone. And Vegeta is just an awesome character who's really gotten a good amount of character development in Super thus far. So, you think about it, like Vegeta has gone from this murderous being who goes from planet to planet wiping people out so that he could sell the planets for Frieza, and then he becomes a parent, and then in Dragon Ball Super, he doesn't even want to leave for the tournament because Bulma was pregnant, and thanks to Whis and his weird magic that lets him just spontaneously birth a child, completely formed, he was able to do so. And he's had some pretty cool moments in the tournament thus far, but again, I'm not too sure if he's really going to be given the win, but I see why he is such a fan favorite here. And next up is Master Roshi, and he's always been a real fan favorite. I mean, especially in Super right now, because when you think about it, Roshi's kind of arc as a character has gone like, in Dragon Ball, he was the old master who was trying to make it so Goku and Krillin didn't get too big of heads about them and couldn't surpass him at the tournament, so that they would come back to try and train even harder and to win the next time. And then, eventually he was surpassed and even killed by King Piccolo before being brought back. And then going into Dragon Ball Z, Master Roshi really didn't do much in Dragon Ball Z aside from having some occasional masterly wisdom or some exposition. The most popular scene I feel like from Dragon Ball Z that people remember him is during a filler scene in which he's explaining to Marin the whole history of the Red Ribbon Army, which, was a pretty cool scene, but still, that's basically all he did in all Dragon Ball Z. And then when we get into Dragon Ball Super, this series has had a good amount more fan service, and they've certainly been a little bit better about character interactions in a number of ways, so they really have given Master Roshi more shine. First, when he shows up in Resurrection F, and he's actually fighting against Frieza soldiers, and now in the Tournament of Power, where he's actually able to send all these people out of the ring with the Mafuba, and where he's even able to land a punch on Frost and almost seal him away permanently. There's been a lot of cool, awesome moments for Roshi in this tournament thus far. He's already been eliminated, much like Krillin and Tien. However, he still had some really awesome moments, so I could see why he's ranked so highly. It's Master Roshi, after all, our favorite pervert in the Dragon Ball universe. And then, interestingly, we have a tie for number one. A three-way tie, in fact, which is very interesting, although perhaps based upon the votes we could judge an actual winner, but let's just talk about these three and explain why they are where they are. First off, AndroidEighteen, which I'm not really surprised by his position here, especially considering how he is in Dragon Ball Super. AndroidEighteen's always been a really cool character, and he is someone who really, has some awesome abilities. He has infinite stamina, so he can basically just keep fighting forever, although he might have to take a breath here or there. He is super powerful now in Super after training on his own on an island. Now he can actually fight on Super Saiyan Blue Goku level. I know that people will say that that could be literally any level of Goku's, but he's pretty comparable to Super Saiyan Blue from what we saw in their fight, and as well as the fact that AndroidEighteen has awesome abilities like that barrier, but really just his personality, just the way he conducts himself, just the way he fights, really makes him a really cool and interesting character, going all the way back to Dragon Ball Z when he first debuted in the Android arc, and it was pretty awesome. And he's definitely one of my favorite side characters in the series. Up next, of course, is his sister, AndroidEighteen, and who are we really to be surprised by AndroidEighteen up here? She is not only one of the most popular characters in the Dragon Ball franchise, especially post-Z, but she has really become someone who is, in many ways popular for other reasons, which I'm not really going to get into here. I mean, we all know what those reasons are at this point. But AndroidEighteen talking about her as a character and how she's been used in Super, she hasn't gotten, say, as much of a shine as Android17. We didn't really see her fighting toe-to-toe with Super Saiyan Blue Goku while still saying she was holding back, you know? But she has had some really cool moments throughout the show, you know, and really at this point, I feel like her character still has a lot of potential to go in various directions. You know, if Android17 got as strong as he got, and he could be as useful as he can be, then I think Android18 is definitely someone up there who can be as well. And especially in the tournament setting, her and 17 really have a lot that they can offer, and they're still around as of this recording, so we'll have to see where they can go, but they could fight at full power until the very end if they want to, and that's a very valuable asset. But finally, on this list, we are going to talk about the other person tied for number 1, and this makes a lot of sense, and that is Piccolo. And really, I guess it makes a lot of sense for Piccolo to be where he is. After all, Piccolo is just an awesome character who has had an interesting arc over the course of the entire Dragon Ball franchise. When he first debuted, of course, as the Demon King Piccolo in Dragon Ball, this ancient evil villain who Goku and even Master Roshi had no chance against. And that was sealed away by Roshi's master. And then, of course, after Goku defeated him, was reincarnated into the Piccolo we know today, who at first, again, still wanted to take over the world and defeat Goku, but then after meeting Goku's son and becoming friends with him, had a change of heart to where he actually developed into the full kind of person he is today, where he actually does care about Gohan, his family, and even Goku and his friends to that extent. So it is interesting to see him develop as a person, but also Piccolo is just kind of a badass fighter in general. The guy has regeneration, so he's always losing his arms and growing those back. He can stretch those arms out. He can enlarge himself. He can use awesome attacks like the Makanko Sapo or Special Beam Cannon. And he's really this tactical genius in a lot of ways who can even overcome stronger opponents like Frost, who normally would require a Super Saiyan level Goku or Vegeta at this point. And even now, Piccolo is a force to be reckoned with, as he was able to train Gohan back into his ultimate form and was able to basically choke him out as a Super Saiyan 2, which was a badass scene. So Piccolo really is this badass, awesome character and one of the most important members of the Z Fighters, and really, like Vegeta, he never gets much of a shine. He did kill Raditz with Goku's help, but that's really as much as he's accomplished as far as main villains go for the entire arc. So Piccolo, I feel like, is still a character who has a lot to offer and can be written a certain way to where he can really achieve a lot for his team. You know, maybe throw in some new powers like God Ki, or maybe even a new transformation. Why not? Maybe even have him fuse with the Universe 6 Namekians and become Super Ultimate Namekian Piccolo. I think that'd be pretty cool, but it is funny to me that Piccolo and Android17, who have one of the most awesome fights in the entire franchise, are together basically ranked at number 1, and I definitely think this makes some sense. So anyway, guys, this has been me breaking down the most popular members of Universe 7's team in the Tournament of Power. These are some very interesting picks, and I was surprised about a number of them. However, some of you may have your own rankings of the top 10 down below, which I would like to see in the comments section. Also, if you'd like to participate in future polls, again, check out my Twitter at LSMMike so you can participate and be in videos like this. And if you like videos like this, subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out. And as I always say, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe, enable those damn notifications.